This is a conversation I had with a customer of Med School Insiders. This is a pre-med who's actually currently applying to medical school, and he used the Med School Insiders personal statement editing. Now, the reason for this call was for me to hear what he liked, what he didn't like, because at Med School Insiders, we're all about constantly trying to improve and be the best that we can be, give you guys the best possible experience, and get students into med school the first time. But as you're going to see, we got sidetracked by some much more important considerations. You're a South Asian male that is very passionate about doing some cutting edge research, and you're looking at plastics, vascular, cardiothoracic surgery, small subspecialties. But your MCAT score is a 501. You retook it. You're waiting for the updated test scores, but your practice tests were like 511.
Or yeah, bounce around there.
Your GPA is 3.71. Are you in school right now, or when did you graduate?
2024.
So now we're taking a couple gap years. Okay.
And just to clarify, I took a gap year from the first 2 years because I had no clinical research. I was research, clinical stuff, and then that's right here.
So you've done clinical research as well as basic science?
As in like that tissue engineering aspect, or I'm trying to clarify on
what kinds of research have you done so far?
Tissue engineering, and then I guess they're all like benchwork research where it's like looking at rat brains, looking at intestinal HUVAC cells and ISC.
Okay, so this is still wet lab. This is wet lab stuff. Okay. And you have 1,300 hours?
Yes. And I guess this is all like, I guess you could consider a higher form where I was sitting with the PI, we were discussing meetings, trying to figure out where the project will go, getting rejected and doing the project itself. Basically doing a PhD work was how my PhD mentor was saying it, but without any of that responsibility.
1,300 hours. You're toying with the idea of even doing a PhD later on. You're going to just optimize right now for just an MD. Applying MD, PhD with no publications. I mean, we're not going to. Yeah, I think you know that's not a winning formula. So you don't have any pubs. You have a couple posters. So that's a lot of time, but not optimal output. So this is what I want to dive into. First of all, do I have your permission to dive in? Like, do you want me to keep it real? Do you want me to be encouraging? Do you want me to like what do you want from me right now?
I want the best step forward. It doesn't matter what happens, but be Premed.
Okay. So translation to me is keep it real and get straight to the crux of it without sugarcoating. So because you want to do a small surgical subspecialty, plastics, vascular, cardiothoracic, we need to go to a program that has the infrastructure. Now, there's the thought or the hope or the idea that, well, you can go into any MD program. We already talked about before I started recording that you're not focusing on DO, obviously. Like we're trying to focus on surgical subspecialties with a heavy research emphasis. But what was the reason I said smaller MD programs, rural programs, primary care focused programs are probably not best suited for your goals?
Oh yeah. It requires an insane work ethic where it's like you gotta grind in even with a normal MD. That's like I guess a comparison I've read online is like running 100-meter race, but now you have hurdles. That would be, I guess, a comparison of what we said was like it's kind of hard to get the resources when we don't have the resources to get to that place.
Having the incredible work ethic, let me be clear, that happens regardless of whether you go to a strong academic program that has the infrastructure, that has the research, that has the specialties in these programs, right? The residencies for plastics, for ENT, so you can get the mentorship, you can get the attendings, the residents, et cetera, the experience clinically, right? Like I was mentioning to you before I started recording, I mean, I was already working. There were rotations where they want to break you. They work you 19 hours a day, and then you have to go home and study for the next day's case. It's like it is intense. I went to a program that already had plastics infrastructure. If you go to a small rural program, now we're having to really fight upstream. Now, it's not impossible, but your odds go down a lot. Because now where do you get the research infrastructure? Where do you get the opportunities and the mentorship? Where do you get the clinical experience and so on and so forth? So at this point, what I'm concerned about is that as you are applying, how many schools did you apply to so far?
I mean, I've done the strategy of shoot one and then things go bad, just eject off the psychic sort of thing.
So you're waiting for your MCAT score to then decide.
Yeah. Basically.
Okay. When do you get your MCAT score?
Early August, I think.
We're also now behind schedule because even though you submitted in June, right, your application is not complete without your MCAT.
Yeah.
So now rolling admissions is working against us. I'm actually going to just pull up a website for you. Premedpredictor.com. You got 501 the first time. We're hoping for at least 511 this time, right?
Yeah.
What was your section score breakdown on your most recent practice tests?
129. I can tell you that 129 and 128 were CP and BB.
If we're shooting for a 511, maybe we make Psych Social 5 a 127 and Cars a 126.7 as well, or
Yeah.
okay. Let's do that. So that's you can see my screen, yeah? Does this look about right?
Yeah.
Now let's go GPA. 3.71?
3.7 and then 3.71 for science.
Well, if your science is slightly higher, then this should be slightly lower. So let's just say 3.69. How about that?
Yeah.
So you're a male.
Male, ethnicity, I guess Asian.
Major.
Major biochem, molecular bio.
Grad year, 24.
24.
And you're going to start med school next year. Parent education.
One has a master's.
Were you first generation college? So not first generation. And did you use AMCAS fee assistance?
No.
Okay. So I put in all your data here. Does this look right?
Yeah, roughly.
Now keep in mind, this is beta testing, beta preview. You're the first person outside of our school community. So people in we have this school community where it's like people get some perks and they get some courses and they get some live Q&As with me and other doctors. And they've been using this now for a little while. But you're the first person outside of the school community to now use this tool. This is beta preview. So this is official WMC data. We plug in all these numbers, including your demographic information. We compare it to the official data set, the most recent year for WMC, and we can then calculate your odds. Because per the official data, based on factors like this, what your major is, what your gender is, what your ethnicity is, things like this, you have varying acceptance odds.
Yeah, I've seen the charts.
So let's calculate your odds.
Roughly about what I thought it was.
Right now, your numbers compared to all candidates gives you a 58.4% odds of acceptance. But because you are an Asian male primarily, there's other factors that are getting factored in here as well. But primarily the Asian male is lowering your odds to 47.5. Now your first MCAT score of a 501 is, I mean, do you know what the average is for those who get into med school?
MD only, right?
Tell me both, MD and DO.
Yeah. MD, I think DO is like 503. MD is 512. Now, if we're comparing with demographics specifically, it's like 515, 516 for Asians. And not going to lie, I'd not looked at the DO stats, so.
DO doesn't actually publish by ethnicity.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I know that it's in that range. MD right now is 512. Yeah. But for Asians, it's 514.3. Are you trying to get into any med school?
My parents mentor, like people they've called to doctors and all that. They're like, yeah, just get into a program and then sort of worry about the rest there. And me sort of Googling and researching knows it's a bad idea, but having something in hand is better than having nothing. It's my idea, or was an idea that was proposed to me.
You wanted my straight take. My straight take is that this cycle is not going to get you to where you want to be. Here's the thing that no one talks about. Everyone is just focused on getting into med school. Is your goal to get into med school or is your goal to become a doctor?
Well, my goal is to do that whole research shebang thing with being a doctor.
So you want to be a surgeon and a scientist and have a heavy emphasis on research and biomedical innovation. Before I started the recording, we talked about Stanford's biodesign, how I also started Blue Link at UC San Diego, where I went to medical school, that was modeled after Stanford's biodesign. You're using these novel technologies and med tech and et cetera, et cetera. So I very much know what you're into, the excitement about it, what it takes. Like I met the whole team at Stanford's biodesign. Like we had conversations, we got their blessing. We went, like I did the same thing at UC San Diego. Now, do you think a DO program is going to help you with that research infrastructure, that focus on these surgical subspecialties, doing what you want to do?
Well, mentally, no, but application-wise, it's looking like it.
Let's not jump there yet. Just overall, in terms of DO, I think we can both agree that based on your goals, DO is probably not the right fit for you.
Yeah.
What people don't talk about is that there are so many people that go to medical school that want, especially for young guys, they want to be orthopedic surgeons. It's like the most popular thing for so many young guys. Not your case, but they want to do ortho. And then they look at the data. And we can go to, again, specialtyrank.com. Specialtyrank.com. All official NRMP data, right? And we say, well, how many of those students who want to do ortho actually get into ortho? And you look at the MD match rate, and in 2024, it was 73%. So almost 3 out of 4. That's pretty low, by the way. Like, neurosurgery is 68.7, derm is 70.5, plastics is 74. Like, this is in the bottom category, lower match rates. But does that mean that 3 out of 4 of these med school matriculants who wanted to do ortho ended up doing ortho?
Obviously not, but I mean,
Why not? I mean, this is obvious to you and me, but again, this is something that no one talks about and people oversimplify. So let's explain it.
Yeah. So there's a certain attrition rate between people who want to get in and people who actually got in.
Just like when you apply to med school. First day of college, there are probably way more premeds at your institution than those who actually ended up applying, right?
I think the case for us was like, it was 20K and around 700 applied. And I don't know how much are taking gap years. I'm planning to.
Well, if you assume that 25% of students take gap years, 25% go straight through, and 3/4 take gap years, but that data is probably still capturing people who still applied by senior year. I'm not sure. Then let's say at worst it would be 4 times that, so 2,800. Best case scenario, 2,800. Might be less than that. Might be a lot less than that. So I'm concerned for you that if you go DO, you're going to close doors. What I want to tell you is that to do what you want to do, you want to go to the program that gives you those opportunities, but then you still got to work your tail off. Working your tail off is mandatory either way. So the reason I started this recording was when you told me your scores, I was surprised. I assumed that because we were here to talk about your personal statement. and now we got sidetracked on research and this very exciting future for you, which I've had some very deep, very similar interests myself. Again, the whole Blue Link, Stanford Biodesign, like I love what you're trying to do, and I want to help you get there. So going DO is not going to get you there. Going to primary care focused MD rural programs is not going to get you there. You need infrastructure because you're not trying to just get into a specialty. You're trying to have some like legitimate research foundation. You're taking this stuff way more seriously than most students do. Let's go to your GPA. Your GPA is
unideal.
So here, cumulative GPA against all applicants, you're at the 54th percentile of applicants versus matriculants. Out of all the people who got in, you're 30th percentile. 7 out of 10 people have a higher GPA. But when we look at your demographic, your ethnicity, your gender, your major, and so on, you're at the 19th percentile. That's for your cumulative. For your science, you are 44th against everyone, and you're 32nd against your cohort. So the thing that people don't like to talk about, that we like to use data to guide us on these decisions because anecdotes are a lot less helpful than data, is how do you stack up to your group? If you tell me a story, and I can even tell you stories of students that have worked with us that are from a different demographic background, that have way lower stats, that still got in to great MD programs, that doesn't automatically mean that you can. Because we need to compare you against candidates who are similar to you. Now, again, numbers can only capture so much. There are many soft components that we cannot capture in a tool like this. But what I'm trying to get at here is that if we spoke 6 months ago, I would say, let's make sure we have a competitive MCAT. We don't have to do a postbac. Your GPA is good enough that it's not going to hold you back from the programs that we want to go to, especially if we can get a killer MCAT score. Yeah. So I'd want to get a killer MCAT score. But you have such a heavy research emphasis, and it sounds like in your personal statement you were telling me that you went really deep and technical, and I'm guessing you showed that research interest, yes?
Yes, or that was my primary focus. Like, hey, I like this, and then I'm adding this. This is like basically my story. This is what I'm adding, and then because of that, this is who I am.
Okay. Do you think that that story and that narrative would be stronger if you had some publications behind your name?
Obviously, yeah.
Okay, so right now we don't have any pubs. We have 3 abstracts. And when I was asking you about your research before I hit the record button, you had mentioned, well, one of the concerns I have is how do I self-publish? Like, I need a PI, etc. I'll tell you that is a low hurdle that we can overcome. I want us to zoom out beyond that though. When we look at research bigger picture, and we're now trying to figure out 2 things. Number one, how do we align research with your interests? Because unlike most students, you're not just doing research to get into med school or to get into residency, right? Like you like this stuff. You wanna innovate and push things forward. So how do we do both of those things? How do we indulge your interest in research and then also help you get into better medical schools and better residencies? Like if you want to go cardiothoracic, I6, meaning integrated 6 straight through from med school, there's 60 or fewer spots per year. Insanely competitive. I'm pretty sure, we don't have official data because NRMP doesn't run that match. I'm pretty sure it would be more competitive than even plastic surgery. Now, I recorded this before the NRMP 2026 data was released. Since the data was released, my prediction was confirmed, and I expected cardiothoracic surgery to be number 1, which it is, and you can see for yourself at specialtyrank.com, where you have all the specialties across all the various years of NRMP charting outcomes, the official data that lets you see objectively how competitive or not competitive a given specialty is. So, do you think that your current research approach will get you there?
In terms, okay, no, I've been trained under like the PhD side of things, definitely not clinical medicine where you about publications. Not to say that a type is significant or the other, but I know for a fact that this type of research method is more suited for like bedside, sort of like grind through 4 years, maybe get a pub out, but and hopefully get that pub out into a higher article if not.
Is there a world where you get both a lot of research done and you're also still able to do some of these more technical benchwork projects?
Yes. And I'm hoping that future me figures that answer out.
I'll tell you from firsthand experience, it's not easy to figure out.
Yeah.
It's actually very painful. Long nights, lots of experimentation, a lot of things that you try that don't work, a lot of conversations, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of reading of books, watching of videos, a lot of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that you want to do a certain type of research, but your goal here is, again, we're not trying to get into med school, we're trying to become a doctor. Your goal here is not to do a kind of project, it's to push forward your long-term vision.
Mhm.
So with the end goal in mind, we can work backwards from there.
Yeah.
So if the goal is to do this kind of cutting edge research in these surgical subspecialties, we need to be very competitive to get into these residency programs.
Mhm.
Backtrack from there, we need to go to a medical school that will give us the infrastructure and the opportunities. We're not going to go DO. We're not going to go to rural primary care focused MD.
Yeah.
Similarly, to get into these same residency programs, you also need a lot of research. Specialtyrank.com. How much research do you need? Well, neurosurge is 37, plastics is 35, derm is 28. That's in 2024. By the time you apply to residency, these numbers will probably be higher. With the 2026 NRMP charting outcomes data, as I predicted, research has exploded once again, and plastic surgery now tops the list at 51 research items. The good news is that the research that you start doing now is included. Yeah. So do you want to do all that research in your final year, or do you want to start working on it sooner?
I prefer to have it like within the first 4 years. If I can get to that skill level sooner, then later, that'd be great. But obviously, we need to get to.
How would you get to that skill level?
Honestly, trial and error is what I'm thinking. It's like you fail, learn a little bit, fail, learn a little bit.
Do you think there's an easier way rather than just trial and error?
Have a good mentor, but yeah, that's what I've seen through.
I decided on plastic surgery very, very, very late. I had to get a lot of research done in a very short period of time. I did most of my research in roughly a 1 year window. Now, it was clinical research, but you got to play the game. It's not just about doing bench work, right? You got to play the game. How much research do you think I could get in 1 year?
Depends. If you're talking bench side, maybe 3 or 4.
No, it was clinical. I was trying. My goal was to do research in a way that would maximize my competitiveness for plastic surgery residency.
I mean, I feel like that answer is unfair. It's 62. I've like looked at your research before. I was like, again, looking to see what sort of research I would be going into. But yeah,
So you're right. It was I did like around 60 items in 1 year. 27 of those were papers. Most of them were first author. It's all on my website. Now, what I want to get at here is, especially for you with your goals, you want to do research in an optimal way. Yes. Trial and error. It took me until my final year to innovate on all these things. It's very challenging to do. To get this volume, some people think that it's junk research. Because there's no way you can do quality research at that volume, right?
yeah, that's I guess that is an idea.
Do you know what a H-index is?
Yeah, it's kind of like it is a useful metric, not the be all end all. It's a useful metric on how much it's cited, I believe, and like how I guess relevant you are in the field would be a good way to say it.
I have 700 plus citations and an H-index of 17. Now, why is that relevant to you? If you do research in the same way and you don't do it in your final year, but you start much sooner, then you could have a stronger research profile than me. And I don't necessarily mean you need to have higher citations or higher H-index, but you can do more bench research from an earlier stage. Do you know what these numbers like? Do you know where this places me?
Upper quartile, like basically a professor, if I could say so.
Here's the thing. I haven't done any new research since medical school. Do you have ChatGPT or like some AI agent on your computer?
Sure.
Why don't you just ask it? Say someone does research in medical school and they stop doing research after medical school. This person has an H index of 17. What does that mean? And they have 700 plus citations. You can add that too.
Substantial and fairly influential body of research.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT on my side here. Say that we have a medical student that does a lot of research in med school and doesn't do any new research once they start residency. And let's say 10 years later, they haven't done any new research at all. But that original body of research that they did in medical school has given them an H index of 17 and about 715 citations. What does that mean? And compared to other people that have done research, where does this place them? All right, what does ChatGPT say? The research wasn't just prolific, it had lasting impact. The papers continued to be cited long after the person stopped actively publishing. This would place someone far above the typical medical student. Most graduating med students have 0 to 5 publications, fewer than 50 total citations, and an H index of 0 to 3. Even among students matching competitive specialties, an H index above 10 at graduation is uncommon. Compared with physician researchers, this is where context matters. Academic physicians, 10 years into faculty, meaning that they've finished their training, now they're working, right? The academic physicians, 10 years into faculty, having an H index of 5 to 10 would be respectable. 10 to 20 would be strong. 20 to 40, very productive. 40 plus, nationally, internationally recognized. So an H index of 17 would put someone roughly in the range of a productive early to mid-career academic clinician despite not publishing anything after medical school. So do you think that you could use these same tactics in a way that would change your own research approach and allow you to have much more prolific and impactful research that you start at the beginning of med school? Honestly, you could even start it right now before you get into med school.
Yeah, I was looking into your sort of research program, but I was like, let's focus on the prereqs of MCAT, the whatever you need to do to apply. And that feels like while after all of that stuff is done, you start hitting at it hard.
Here's what I want to talk about. I think that this cycle based on your goals is not going to be fruitful.
I'm aware of that as well.
Based on your MCAT score, practice tests, is it reasonable to say that your real test score will be within a couple points of that?
I hope so, but I'm honestly unsure.
The odds of you hitting like a 518, 520 on the test are
Negligent.
the odds of you hitting a 511 plus or minus 2-3 points. Pretty high.
But I mean, I'm aware there's some concept gaps, and if you get boned, you get boned.
So here's what I would suggest. You optimize for your next cycle.
Yes, we're looking towards that.
I don't think you need to do a postbac. Your GPA is good enough. But if you want to be seriously considered at these top tier institutions, we need to look at your whole profile, by the way. You're happy with your personal statement, though. Is that right?
Yes, I'm more than content. My expectations changed and realized that it needs to be a different level, and obviously changed to that.
And we help you get to that different level. Okay. So let me just say something for the viewers that are watching this. I was having a call with this student here who I'm not going to name because I wanted to just see, I like to chat with current and prior customers just to see the experience, things they like, things they don't like. And the student that I'm talking to, we helped him with his personal statement and things went well. Initially, you were telling me that it was like a bit overcomplicated and a bit too technical. And with your advisor, you were able to make it a lot more polished. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So number one, we have to have a much higher MCAT score because what we're trying to demonstrate is academic readiness to these medical schools. And again, we're trying to go to these more academic programs, which tend to be more competitive based on your goals. So not every student needs to go to these more academic programs, but for your goals, you are well suited going to an academic, like a much larger, more resourceful academic program. So we need to have an MCAT score that is much higher because you are from what I call a demographically disadvantaged group, meaning that you need to have higher metrics than other groups. We want that score to be substantially higher. I don't want you to be hitting like a 520 plus.
Yeah, I'm prepping for another one in January in case I can sort of hit that level where I can sort of confidently say, "Hey, I'm here."
How have you been studying for the MCAT?
Honestly, a lot of the MCAT information has not been new information per se. It's like there's not a content gap. I've sort of looked at a bunch of resources, talked to a bunch of people, some other sources as well. They said you have a sort of skill gap, is how they framed it, where it's like you're over analyzing on this cars, over analyzing on these passages, sort of reading beyond what their implication is, and kind of. I understand that over studying these tests, it's sort of like you gotta like focus on what they're saying, but as you can imagine from my prior backgrounds, not an easy skill to adjust from looking at a research paper to that.
Have you seen our content on the three pillars that determine your test score?
Yeah,
So content knowledge, study strategies, test taking skills.
yeah.
You have to maintain your content even if you feel like you have it down. There's a forgetting curve. You will forget. So right now it's end of July. You will forget a lot. So you have to maintain that. That's where good study strategies help you maximize your learning and minimize your forgetting. But secondly, your test taking strategies are needing more attention. That's where you're going to have the biggest gains. So we can get into what that looks like, but that's where you need to spend a lot more time and energy. Let's take the MCAT just one more time and let's just leave it there and let's get a 520 plus. There's a lifetime limit on the MCAT. How many times have you taken it?
So I'm on my sixth attempt.
October will be number 6.
Or October is when booking starts.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah. There's no MCATs between September. The last ones are September, and then January is when you can take it next. So would January be your 6th or your 7th attempt?
Sixth,
You know what your lifetime limit is?
seventh. Yeah, deadline's coming close.
My philosophy is you take the MCAT once and only once. It's not a test you need to take multiple times. Every time you take it, you're spending a lot of time and energy, cost,
Yeah.
not just financial cost, but like opportunity cost of other things you could be doing. Because what's the other big, big, big thing that needs to be improved based on your narrative specifically and your target programs?
Research and narrative behind that research on why me.
Yeah, with your 1,300 hours, your research emphasis, all these things, you're considering a PhD and so on. Um, let's get those numbers up, man. Let's get some pubs.
Yeah.
Let's get some oral presentations.
Which I guess begs back to that answer of that question of like, how am I going to do that as an or as a post grad pre-med that doesn't really have an like institution behind me to sort of share it to.
Here's the thing. You don't need an institution behind you. So there's a misconception that there's so many misconceptions with research. And I do my best to explain these things, but I'm only one person, right? Mm-hmm. Number one, people think that you just need to join any lab in your area of interest and work hard and things will work out. I did that too, by the way, no shame. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I did the same thing. Dude, I got sick with ulcerative colitis February of my freshman year. I'm 6'1". I got down to 128 pounds. Do you know what someone who's 6'1" weighing 128 pounds looks like?
Looks like me.
No, man. I was like legit emaciated. Legit emaciated. Mm-hmm. That was February. In April, 2 months later, by the way, you don't recover from a huge flare like this, and I'm still on high dose of prednisone. I'm still very emaciated. In April, I was in a lab studying my own condition. Like I'm trying to give you a sense of how intensely motivated I was. The reason I wanted to touch on my story is to illustrate that I was very motivated. I worked hard in the lab. I went to the research directory. I found blah, 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 blah. And then after 3 years, no first authors, no second author. I had a single third author pub. Yeah. It's a lot of time and effort for not a lot of output. So there's no shame. I'm not trying to say that, how dare you do this or you should be ashamed of yourself. Absolutely not. I was right where you are. I did the same thing. I made the same mistakes. Go to med school. I learned the different system that I told you I innovated on, right? You don't have to be associated with any program to do this properly. So there are ways to now get connected with people that are doing research, not at your institution, not even in your hometown. I mean, you're in a I'm not going to disclose where you're at, but you're in a place that we can find opportunities. But let's say you weren't in a place that you could find opportunities. We can find remote opportunities. I know this because I've done it. And I've helped students do it. And then once you're in those remote opportunities, what do you normally do in a lab?
Grind your butt off. Hopefully get something out.
And how do you know what to grind your butt off on?
It's based on the mentor or the PI. They lead you to the direction based on their experience.
So they tell you what to do. You say, "What do I do next?" And you just keep doing that back and forth, right?
Until you get good enough, yeah.
Do you think that's the best way?
I mean, looking at outside sources, yours included, probably not, but it's what we have access to.
Here's what I want you to actually do instead. You're not going to just ask your PI, "What do you do next?" You're going to actually drive value. You're going to understand how research works at a greater level and greater depth than you currently do. And we're going to push things forward. By doing so, you're going to take a lot more ownership. You're going to understand what happens, how, what the next steps are. And you're not going to constantly be asking what to do, what to do, what to do. You're going to know how to drive value forward. And you're not going to know everything, but you're going to know a lot more than you do right now. Yeah. By doing so, there's two main benefits. Number one, you're going to, again, drive the project forward, and you're going to get research items within a few months. Like, you should be having some abstracts or presentations within a handful of months. Yeah. If you're doing this properly. And then within, let's say, this depends on what the project type is and a few other factors, but after that, let's say a couple months after that, you should have pubs. Yeah. Now, when you do research in this way, we're obviously going to have a much higher research item count. Yes?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully.
What is the other really big benefit for your application?
Showing that it's basically like, hey, I might be lacking in some science. I'm proving myself by not taking. I have the science I can take the rigor of med school.
By having research output, you're showing many desirable qualities. I agree, but there's another part of your application that is directly related to your research experience and your PI in particular. Your letter of rec.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, when you are the student that just clocks in, clocks out, and you put in the hours and you keep asking, "Hey, what do I do? I'm like eager. I'm here to help. I'm here to work hard." Does that get you the strongest letter of recommendation?
No. I guess to clarify my situation, my PI has said he'll write a letter of rec, but I need to give him a letter of rec sort of thing, where, you know, how in PhD world, kind of like, hey, you write it for me, I'll sign it up, stuff like that.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah. What I'll probably suggest is that we actually find another lab, because to generate the output that I'm talking about is probably not going to be in the same lab. So we're in this new lab, and let's say this new lab, they're going to do their letter properly and write their own letter and not ask you to give them a draft that they're going to edit and whatever. So like, they're going to write their own letter. Mm-hmm. Who gets a stronger letter? The student that clocks in, clocks out, works hard, and asks what to do, or the second type of student that knows what to do, pushes things forward, and gets a lot of projects done?
The second one, most clearly.
Letters of rec are so underappreciated on med school labs because they're hard to quantify, and you don't know what's actually on yours because you waive your right to review it. Mm-hmm. These are incredibly important, especially if you're getting a letter from someone like an MD that you're doing research with, because medical schools want to know what doctors think about you, more so than just your professors. So now you have a doctor that you did research with, they're going to write your letter. And if you do things right, it's going to be much stronger. So they're placing more emphasis on this letter, and it's stronger. Mm-hmm. Now, if you do this in the optimal way, you'll have such strong letters of recommendation that many people on your interview trail will actually bring them up. Because no longer does the letter just read, is a great student, hardworking, diligent, blah, blah, blah. That's the letter for the first student. Yeah. The second student gets a letter that says, out of the last 100 students I've worked with over the past 15 years, This student is in the top 2, and here's why. And here's specific stories. This person is in the top 2% on this, the top 5% on this, the top 1% on this. Do you see how that completely transforms your application?
Yeah. I mean, part of it is getting there, but yeah.
The whole game is getting there and doing research not just by trial and error, but actually doing it in the proper way. I think with this new plan, we're going to have a much better future for your goal. Because again, your goal is not to get into medical school. Everyone thinks they just want to get into med school. Your goal is to become a doctor. And for you, you have a very unique and very particular type of doctor that you want to be, which means that you need to find a very particular type of medical school that is going to help you get there. And your current approach is not getting us there. So what we need to focus on between now and next year is number 1, we need to crush the MCAT on attempt number 6. Yeah. We're not gonna do it again after that. Yeah. Attempt number 6. I can tell you exactly how we're gonna do that. By the way, there was one student who was actually very similar to you, was taking the MCAT on his 7th attempt because, like you, he also voided many times. He did it a few times, voided, and he had a 515. Mm-hmm. But he was shooting for MD PhD programs. I guess he does have some similarities because even though you're not going MD PhD, you have that very heavy research emphasis.
A possible future PhD and all that stuff.
So he's applying MD PhD and he's also international and he wants to go to top tier institutions. So we're just like, hey, 515, like, we gotta get those numbers up. Mm-hmm. We worked with him for 2 months while he was in a research lab working full time. Mm-hmm. Do you know what his final test score was 2 months ago? Two months later?
523.
525.
I mean, good on him.
I'll tell you more about exactly what his what we did for him, but that's gonna be one thing, the MCAT. The second thing is research. And are you doing other things right now, or is it just like you're just focused on research?
So I don't have any research since I graduated school because I could not. I've been basically reading articles, trying to keep up my research abilities because I only had research, I kept on applying in clinics in school, kept getting rejected, kept doing this stuff. So only after school. Since I graduated in 3, I was like, okay, I'm running out of time. So I've been doing clinicals the last 2 years, being a medical assistant, being a scribe, balancing both those jobs while I'm basically doing that stuff.
How many clinical hours do you have?
One job has 3200, the other has 680.
Do you think that getting more clinical hours is going to move the needle on your med school application?
No, but it'll show that they won't bring up the question of why didn't you just do a PhD? Why are you here? Sort of thing. So maybe touch base on it.
Based on you wanting to get into med school as soon as possible, based on what your gaps are right now, are there other areas that we can focus our effort on?
Other than MCAT and, I guess, research?
I'm saying those are the 2 areas. Yeah. I think when you have more than 3,000, close to 4,000 clinical hours, adding more clinical hours, I don't think is moving the needle in a significant way. And I understand your concerns about the overall narrative and all these things. What's much more pertinent to your overall application profile is your research and your MCAT score. Mm-hmm. And we need to reprioritize that. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you exactly how I want to do this. We have a research program that would essentially teach you the same methodologies that I innovated on that got me a silly number of research publications. By the way, we have premeds in the program. Mm-hmm. Like 1st and 2nd year premeds that don't have as much research experience as you, that are doing up to 10 items per year. So I want you on that same program, and then I want to talk about your MCAT approach as well. So what I'm also going to suggest as a final thing is that we have a new school community. So school.com/med school insiders. Yeah. There are so many students week after week. So I do a weekly Q&A there, and then we have other doctors join in as well. So we're doing right now 1 to 2 hours of Q&A per week. It's going to go to 2 to 3 very soon. And we're actually going to have, one's really good for you too. We're going to have Tutor Tuesdays, where every Tuesday an MCAT tutor sits down with you and other students live, and you guys go over certain concepts together, including test taking strategies. Gotcha. I want you there because I think you having that constant, recurring contact with me and other doctors and other motivated premeds is going to help you get to where you need to be by the time that you apply next year.
Gotcha.
So let me send you the link school.com/med school
I've looked at
insiders.
it before, so I was like considering it sort of.
So we'll definitely see you in the school community. And then I can answer because there's so many students that are asking research questions week after week. And like we go pretty deep into like how you like there's other students that also graduated out of their program. They're saying, hey, how do I find research? Like these are the things that we're going deep into on these Q&As. So I'd love to see you there. I think that'll be awesome. Dude, you need to approach the MCAT in a way more systematic way rather than just the sense I'm getting is that when you don't know how to do something, you put your head down, you work harder, you're going online, you've already seen our school community, but you're hesitating to take the leap. Because, oh, maybe I don't need it, maybe I can figure it out on my own, right?
And people around me have done it themselves. And I was like, why can't I be that sort of thing?
If you find a pre-med that has generated 700 plus citations, H-index of 17, etc. in 1 year, I'd love to meet them. As ChatGPT showed us, it's so beyond what is normal. It's the level of someone who's been practicing 10 years as an academic clinician.
Associate professor level, if I'm not mistaken.
Doing research like your other colleagues at this time is not what you need. What you need to do is supercharge your research. If there are pre-meds that are first and second year that are getting 2 to 10 items per year as freshman and sophomore,
Mm-hmm.
in your case, dude, if we get 10, I'd be very happy. Your application for the types of programs you're trying to go to would be completely transformed. That's number one. Number two, we got to hit the MCAT.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the MCAT, you acknowledge that you have a test taking skill gap. How long have you known that?
Honestly, when I started, I've known that I've never suffered from anxiety, as I've talked about the final exam and all that stuff. But I guess since I've taken the first exam, I got a 507. I'm like, this stuff is easy. But as I've done more practice, the score went down, 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 up, down, 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 sort of thing. And now it's like, this is a thing I need to work on. And obviously, you kind of know my methodology. It's grind out all the problems, make sure you understand the problems, and just keep doing that. And then there's a light in the end of the tunnel. Just keep doing it until something happens.
How's that working for you?
You can guess, but not that great.
I mean, you've taken the MCAT 6 times.
Yeah.
What would have happened if you just, learned the study strategies and the test taking skills better the first time?
We wouldn't be in this position. Honestly, I think we could have gone from like 3-year college just straight to med school and not have a potential 4 years of gap.
So if you apply next year, it'll be a 4-year gap.
Because graduating in 24.
Yeah, you start in 28.
Yeah.
So by not doing this the right way the first time, you're now taking 4 gap years rather than 0 gap years.
Yeah.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah, I realize it, but you can't beat yourself over like mistakes you've made.
Don't beat yourself up, but let's learn from that and let's not repeat it. Mm-hmm. Let's not make it 5 gap years. Best case scenario now is 4 gap years. Mm-hmm. There's a large opportunity cost there as well. Yeah. Every year, the average doctor makes $400K a year right now in the US. The average surgeon is making more than $500,000 per year. Do you want to have like kids or a family or a house?
I mean, again, considering, but I was like, let's get the dreams in and then walk in the who am I portion.
The reason I'm saying that is that all those things get pushed downstream based on this. If you get into med school 4 years earlier, you finish your training 4 years earlier. Yeah. Right? So I started med school at 21. That allows me to then finish my training by the time I'm like 30. I mean, it depends on your specialty, right? Whereas if you take an additional 4 years, now you're 34, 35, 36. Can we agree that the way that we've been doing things so far is not working and we need to do things differently?
Yeah. I mean, we can obviously talk about, there's a set of hubris taking it 6 times.
Here's the thing, man. I mean, it's sometimes hard to ask for help and hard to do things in the best way, but we got to learn. Like, no one's life is perfect. I've made mistakes. I teach people about how to avoid those mistakes through these videos, through the community, through my one-on-one. But I got to learn from the mistakes. I can't keep repeating the same mistake. To take the MCAT 6 times, right? And I'm not trying to be harsh on you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just trying to point out something that I want you to learn, because this will serve you well in life. This will serve you well in med school. This will serve you well beyond that too. When things don't go according to plan, you got to recoup, you got to regather, you got to re-strategize, and then do it better the next time. You can't keep doing the same thing every single time and expect different results.
Gotcha.
So I'm seeing that with your research. You've done research for several years. When I've asked you about like what are you going to do differently, you're like, well, I don't know. I don't have a PI, and I'm not part of a program. So like, there are ways to get through these problems. There are people that have gone through exactly what you're going through. They've had it even worse, and yet they've achieved incredible things. They've done more with less. So it's not your circumstance, it's the execution. I want to help you improve that execution. And I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying this to explain what the gap is, because what I'm seeing is, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally understanding that. Like, that is the most pragmatic approach. I sort of seen this a few months ago, and sort of been living with it since. Like, that idea, because obviously I've looked at research, looked at everything else, and sort of seen through everything. But yeah, I mean, I think we're aligned in that sort of sense.
Okay. Here are the two things, though. I'm going to send you